Okay, guys, I have one that's very rotten for this episode of Rotten Reviews. I have the year 2000 movie Supernova. It is very rotten with a 10% on the tomato meter and a 17% on the audience score. It has over 11,000 audience reviews, so although this is 19 years old, almost 20 years old as of the time of this episode, I can say it's quite relevant because it is still running on cable channels, for example on HBO, and it is on streaming of one type or another. And yes, right off the bat, I will agree that this is rotten, but I'll argue that it doesn't deserve quite the rottenness that's shown on Rotten Tomatoes. It has a 17% on the audience score, and I think that'd be better as a 30% on the audience score. Not that it's not rotten, but the numbers just really slam this harder than I think it deserves. But certainly it's rotten, and let's get right into the actual audience opinion on that. I'm going to just read all of them. I'm not going to ignore 5-star or 1-star reviews. This isn't going to be a contrarian episode of the show. I'm just going to find out what the current opinion is out there after all. This movie is almost 20 years old. Personally, I don't remember considering this a really bad movie when it came out. I remember seeing this when it was first released on VHS. I believe it was VHS I saw this on, although it may have been on DVD at the time. In any case, I remember it just being forgettable, not anything that I was offended by, but just forgettable, and for its day, just an attempt at a sci-fi movie that just didn't quite work for me, but it had its moments, I guess. It was a little bit unique in that it kind of mashed up a bunch of stuff together, but overall just very forgettable to me. Now, if I had to give this a star rating, I would say 1 star because I think it's still rotten and it doesn't age well. I don't think it's getting worse with age. I think it probably got as worse as it could be, within the last 10 years. I don't think it's going to go any lower. It just is a forgettable B movie, something that you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel late at night, even years ago. But let's get into this. We have a 3.5-star review from October 2019. This movie is really good. The whole premise is original, and there have been quite a few sci-fi movies in recent years that have taken ideas from this movie. The movie's whole premise is when we reach the limits of our existence, the universe has a contingency plan. Check it out. Well, this reviewer, I don't agree on the number of stars. This is certainly a 1-star movie. But this reviewer is reading a little bit more into this film than was intended, I believe, by the producers. The movie kind of tries to give you 2 or 3 messages along the way, if you can sit through the whole thing. None of the messages are taken 100% seriously, so I don't actually get a message from this. But one of the things that's just barely hinted at is that there's some supreme intelligence out there somewhere in the universe, and maybe it's decided that we need to be put in check, or that any race like ours, or any civilization that rises to the heights we have, may need to be put in check at some point. But there's just a very, very small hint of that in the film. To encapsulate this film very simply, plot-wise, it's about a medical ship called the Nightingale that receives a distress call, and the mission of this ship is to respond to such distress calls and jump drive off to wherever the emergency is, and provide medical services like an emergency rescue ship of some sort. It's not known who they work for. That's not really explained in the film. They just, for some reason, that's their task. They could be part of some kind of space force, or they could just be a civilian ship of some kind from some, use your imagination, some kind of spacefaring government in the far future. It's not really explained, but let's just say they're ambulance jockeys, for lack of a better word. And they get a distress signal, and then they go off to this very strange, gravitationally unstable planet that's, it's a dying planet. It's about to be consumed by a supernova star, or by a gigantic blue giant star that's going to go supernova. And you know, it's kind of a mystery that turns into a kind of a slasher horror type thing along the way. But that's basically the gist of it, and it kind of mashes up a bunch of genres together. It almost gives you a little taste of what you got of the horror in Event Horizon, just a very little taste of it, along with some alien type mystery and some, you know, straight up villain, serial killer type stuff going on. It's kind of got a bunch of weird stuff mashed together. But I'd say 1 star, and don't read too much into this. Some of the reviewers, maybe they want to find some kind of gigantic special theme in this, but the movie doesn't really give you a clear theme. It just hints at a few things, very roughly around the edges, so to speak. Here's another review from March 8th, 2019. 4 stars, another great sci-fi movie with horrible reviews. Trust me, it's worth watching. Not necessarily. I wouldn't say go out of your way to watch this. You're not going to get anything special out of it, but if you've got absolutely nothing to do and this just is on a cable or streaming service you already subscribe to and you've got nothing else to do, go ahead and try to watch it once, but don't expect to get some kind of message out of it. It's largely forgettable, and there's logic fails. There are plot problems. You know, I like to find the logic fails. I like to find where, you know, it's obvious that just the script writing is bad, and I'm going to touch on that too. It definitely has those flaws. 3.5 stars, December 8, 2018. We've jumped back into 2018 already. Look, I hate most movies. I actually like this movie. True, it isn't great, but it is better than all the new Star Trek movies. No, I'm sorry. Even the J.J. Abrams Star Trek films, all 3 of them at this point, are better than this film in every way. This story would have worked much better as a novel. I think it could have succeeded as a sci-fi novel. Maybe it even could have gotten awards, who knows. But as a film, doing it like this, the way the story unfolds, it doesn't work. It's very forgettable. And you know, I should mention that one of the 3 directors, and there are 3 directors listed or credited on this film, one of them is Francis Ford Coppola. I certainly don't know what his role was. I don't know if his directorial credit is just because he has a very minor hand in this, but I just found it fascinating that he's listed as one of the 3 directors. You wouldn't think this is one of his films, though. It's not an Apocalypse Now or any great award winner, certainly. I'm not sure why it has his name on it at all, but it does. And I'll just say that James Spader and Angela Bassett are the main stars of this. They both look very young, very strong. They perform their roles just fine. Their acting is just fine. They're not the flaws with this. There are also other actors and actresses in it that are more forgettable, even by today's standards. You've seen their faces, but they don't have the big name recognition, and that would be Robin Tunney and Peter Fasinelli. And Robin Tunney is probably the most face recognizable of those actresses. She's been in a lot of stuff after this movie. She's probably even in stuff in 2019, but you know, she's not a household name. And there is actually a small role played by Robert Forster. He shows up in a lot of B movies like this, and his role is originally as the captain of this medical ship. And for some reason, at the beginning of this, the script, it has to get rid of him, and he is killed off, and he is replaced in the captain's role by James Spader. Robert Forster, his character, I can't really remark on whether he did his acting well or not, because he's not in the movie long enough for me to make a judgment on that. His character, it's one of the logical fails of this movie. His character is actually removed from the movie, killed in a way that's not logical, never explained. It's basically exactly as though the writer just needed to get rid of him, or maybe he was paid to have a certain amount of time in this film and no more. I don't know the story, but they definitely didn't want him to be a major focus of the film. But he was the captain originally of this crew when the story starts. Let's move on. We have 3 stars, September 4, 2018. Okay, little sci-fi flick. It's okay if you're very bored and have nothing else to do. Not offensively bad, but very forgettable bad. 3.5 stars, June 6, 2018. I didn't think this movie was bad. I liked James Spader and thought he gave a strong performance. I also liked Angela Bassett and felt she was good as well. The supporting cast was also strong. I liked that Sweetie, the computer, had a sense of humor, and I especially liked when it was describing the alien object to Bassett's character. That was some very cool sci-fi-ish stuff. Spoilers ahead, however, the film did lapse into the very common science fiction horror tropes of a nearly invincible bad guy. Yeah, I'll break that down a little bit. There's an alien artifact that has been discovered by a like a mining venture on this remote planet. And when the medical ship comes along, there's apparently only one survivor, and he smuggles this alien artifact on board the ship. And the movie, it never really explains what the alien artifact is. At one point, they think it's some kind of bomb. At another point in the film, they think that it's some kind of device that is supposed to seed life throughout the universe, kind of like the Genesis device from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. The movie doesn't decide exactly what this object is. It's more of the thing that drives the story forward. It's got some cool CGI effects. It also, this alien artifact, even if it is a bomb, it has the weird side effect. If you spend a lot of time around it in close proximity to it, it kind of reorganizes your body and makes you into a superhero type character, or at least gives you superhero type powers, which are shown in positive and negative ways. So again, you don't get a strong message from this. It's just like a plot device with some cool CGI. But I should warn you that CGI in the rest of the movie, for example, the way the ship jumps from one point in space to the other, it's really bad. And the CGI of the actual ships flying through space and orbiting the planet and whatnot, that's really bad and looks awful, even from a year 2000 perspective. So just a warning there. But the CGI and the alien artifact, it seems like that's where they blew most of their effects budget, and it shows. The alien artifact did look cool. It even looks cool today, but nothing else in this VFX wise does. It all looks very dated and bad. Certainly it's rotten movie bad on most of the effects. And also there's a computer. It's very annoying. There's a computer kind of like ripped off from the Alien franchise. The first Alien in 1979 had the computer called Mother. Well, this one has a computer called Sweetie, and it's almost like ripping off Alien and 2001: A Space Odyssey with HAL 9000. There's a computer that operates with a vocal personality called Sweetie, and the voice is very annoying. I mean, it really grated on me, and probably that might be why people are giving this such negative reviews. The computer voice that talks to the characters is just so cringy bad, and you know what, it's a mistake in the sound mixing for whatever reason. You turn the volume up really loud to hear the characters and everything else talk, but then as soon as the computer talks, it's overpoweringly loud and enough to blow out the soundbar in your TV. I don't know what's going on with that, but the computer, dubbed-in computer voice is just too powerful, and it's very grating in the tone, and the character, this female character of the computer, is very annoying and cringeworthy bad at times, and it's like, you know, listening to somebody put their fingernails on a chalkboard. At least that's the way it was to me, and maybe that's why people are giving this such a really rotten review, even more rotten than it deserves. But, you know, let's move on. 3.5 stars, February 11, 2018. No Oscar contender, but enjoyable for the genre. A very buff Spader and the wonderful Bassett. I wouldn't call Spader buff, but compared to the James Spader we have today, it's like two different people. If you've never seen James Spader back in the year 2000, nowadays you see him in the crime dramas, and he's like this pudgy old guy and bald, and you know, he looks like a 55-year-old bald guy that's out of shape. And, you know, you see him back in the year 2000, and he looks like he could be an action hero, and he's got a thin but strong, you know, ripped body. And it's kind of weird seeing him back in 2000 in this film, and maybe you want to see it if you're a James Spader fan, just to see what he looked like before he became the old pudgy bald guy. It's very crazy to compare. It's very strange to look at the difference between the two. He definitely has not aged well. Not that that's affected his acting career. I'm sure he makes plenty of money, but Just the way he looked in this is just so striking compared to modern times. Angela Bassett, well, she's kept herself in shape, so I think I most recently saw her in one of the American Horror Story seasons, and I don't know her exact age. I think she's a little older than me, but certainly she looked fantastic, and she looks fantastic in this. She's actually taken care of herself pretty well because she hasn't aged badly. 3 stars, January 7, 2018. Only acceptable because of James Spader. Well, if you're a James Spader fan, then yeah, watch this. Otherwise, no, it's too rotten and forgettable. 4 stars, December 21, 2017. We've jumped back one more year back in time. Considering how much ended up on the cutting room floor and the difficulties they had in filming, I think they did well with this. Spaceships and good cast. This reviewer's being far too kind. They are bringing up an interesting point, though, on the history of the making of this film. I guess this script went back and forth between several different production teams and directors, and it was kind of like a hot potato that people were passing around for quite a few years until it actually got made. Maybe that's why you have the 3 directors on it, Coppola being one of them. In any case, that sounds like a mess, and what showed up was a mess because it's got quite a lot of logical plot flaws in it. For example, at the beginning of the movie, the captain, played by Robert Forrester, he deliberately switches places with Angela Bassett's character, showing that he knows something is wrong with his stasis chamber. They have to go into stasis chambers before the ship makes its hyperspace jump or whatnot to protect them. So he deliberately switches place with Angela Bassett's character, knowing there's something wrong with knowing that there's something wrong with her stasis chamber, and then when she asks him why he wants to switch, he just kind of says there's no time to explain it, just trust me. And then after they make their hyperspace jump, he's killed because he's in the defective hyperspace stasis chamber. And the movie never explains why that is, or how he knew, or if he was killing himself, or that he knew he was killing himself. It's kind of just hand waved away. At one point, another character on the crew asks the same question, but then they just brush it off or shrug it off and say there's no time to dwell on this. It's very strange, so I don't know what the point of that is, but it's a real big plot hole that kind of leaves you wondering what was going on in there, because it's never explained further in the movie. And then there's like a really overlong, the first time the ship jumps into hyperspace, it's a very overlong, intense sequence. The film spends a lot of time on it and makes it drawn out and suspenseful, almost like a horror type thing going on, to suggest that this is a very dangerous and scary process. And the film never explains why that is, because the rest of the movie treats the jump in hyperspace as being some kind of routine thing that's been done thousands and thousands of times before, which it certainly would have been. And yet, at the beginning of the film, it's some very suspenseful, scary thing. And it's like they set that up to have something to do with the captain's death. And then it never figured anywhere in the rest of the plot, and it's just another big question mark in the movie that kind of left me wondering if that was there was a purpose to that. And nope, the movie never explains what that was about. The rest of the film just refers to the hyperspace jump sequence is just a thing. It's just a thing. So anyway, 3 stars, September 7, 2017. An older movie, now on Stars on Demand. Storyline starts out okay. The cast is very interesting and most of the acting is above average. A good movie overall for the time period in which it was made. Maybe a good movie for an adult gathering of popcorn, other munchies, and drinks. Well, I can kind of agree with him. It's not so bad you can't watch it. It could be enjoyable if you're just not thinking too hard and you don't see too many problems with the plot holes. And let me go into another plot hole. Yeah, this is the big one that jumped out at me right away and made me consider this rotten, even with an open mind. In the beginning of this film, when they jump to this this remote planet that the distress signal came from, and right away they get struck by some random asteroids or meteorites or some kind of space debris. Okay, fine. But then the problem is the engines are damaged, the ship is damaged, and the computer, as smart as it is, tells the pilot, who is now James Spader's character, tells him that there's no way out of this because I ran all the scenarios and we don't have enough fuel to do A, B, and C, and we don't have enough of this and that to do C, D, and E, etc. And so no matter what scenario Spader proposes to the computer says, well, basically we're screwed. Okay, but then Spader just all of a sudden takes manual control over the engines of the ship and pilots them out of danger into a stable orbit, getting them out of danger for at least the next 12 hours or so, where the computer just showed the audience and him and everybody else that that wasn't possible. And then the movie never questions that, and none of the other characters question that, how Spader magically piloted the ship into a better position in orbit, where the computer said it wasn't possible, they didn't have enough fuel. What? Like, the movie just didn't care. It just flat out let that go on, and right from that point on, I considered this a rotten movie no matter what would have happened after that, because it's just too blatant of a discontinuation of the logic. It's just such a break with everything going on in the film, an immediate break, that it's just automatically I consider this rotten. And it never got fixed, and there were other things like that. But let's continue on for some more reactions. We are in July 30, 2017, 3 stars. Back in the day, there was a time when you'd walk into your local video shop, VHS, looking for a specific movie. While scanning the shelves for your desired evening's entertainment, chances are you'd come across a movie that you'd never seen of or heard before, yet despite that, the cast, the cover, and the genre would get you all excited to see it ASAP. This is how Supernova came into my life. Just one of those out-of-the-blue movies that sat there begging to be rented. Yeah, the box cover doesn't look bad. I'm sorry this reviewer just can't get his thoughts into a paragraph. Obviously, he's going to make this a long-winded review. I'm not going to open a wall of text and get to where he's going. He's saying 3 stars. Okay, fine. Basically, he's saying that the box cover enticed him. And if we look back, let's take a look at the box cover. Okay, all hell is about to break loose. You know, it almost conjures up a reference to Supernova, and I think that's an attempt here to like try to put this in the same genre, but this is not a horror movie, so don't let this box cover fool you. It's not a horror movie at all. Like, it kind of opens with one scene that feels like that. No. The rest of it is just sci-fi, and the tone is not horror. Yes, there is a bad guy that manages to kill people off in kind of gruesome ways. That's not horror, though. It's just a sci-fi with a bad guy. So let's move on. Just thought I'd bring that up. The box cover art is an attempt to associate it as a horror movie. It is not. Half a star, April 20, 2017. If I could rate this any lower, I would. Why was the guy that they didn't trust so free to roam? Oh, so the poor story could progress. Finally, color context never looked so good. Okay, yes. I agree, this could be half a star or 1 star, depending on your preference. Yeah, there's a bad guy. It's obvious that nobody trusts him. The captain of the ship doesn't trust him. The audience is told in a lot of different ways. The audience is hinted that this is the bad guy. And yet, they just let him wander around the ship and get into all kinds of trouble and do all sorts of bad things. And a lot of people ended up dying because of that. And yet the captain didn't trust him at all and stated that on many occasions, but he was allowed to just wander around and do whatever. It's a big problem, and I agree. Another big problem I had on my list with this plot. And also, you know, this reviewer saying color context never looked so good. Well, at the end of this, spoiler, James Spader and Angela Bassett survive, and there's only one stasis pod for them to escape into at the end, and they both get into one, and there's like, they're kind of not really enthusiastic about doing this because they might end up mutated into a mess, because the stasis pods are only made for one person. If you get inside with more than one person, you'll get this genetic mix between people that could go horribly wrong. Okay, but then when they do this at the end, it's shown that they're just fine, and they did have some genetic swapping of material between them. But basically, all it did was it made James Spader get one of Angela Bassett's brown eyes, and Angela Bassett got one of James Spader's blue eyes. And then also the computer told them that during its scan, it detected that Angela Bassett was now pregnant. So, that's the way the movie ended. And I guess they're referring to the fact that Angela Bassett kind of looked a little sexier with one blue eye. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because the movie does like tease you with some nudity. It like teases you with some nakedness from Angela Bassett and some breast shots from another character, another female character. So it kind of teases you with some sex. So it wanted to get the 13-year-old boys kind of into the seats too, I guess. But let's move on. Half a star. If I was blind from birth and doctors and scientists offered me a one-time chance to see this for 2 hours, but the one catch would be that I had to watch Supernova, I would decline and ask them to take my hearing as well, so I would never have the chance to accidentally hear it years from now on TV. So they're saying they'd rather be blind than watch this. Okay, half a star. I don't believe you, but I get the point. 2.5 stars, September 26, 2016. So we're already back in time more than 3 years now. I remember hating this when it came out. Not as bad second time around. Nothing special. Basic spaceship thriller. Yeah, I kind of agree, but not up to 2.5 stars. This is just a 1-star affair. Let's see, what are my other big problems? Yeah, okay, listen to this. This medical ship, it shows up, it jumps into danger, it suffers a major catastrophe involving the death of the captain. It's in peril. It's in a position in which it's probably okay for a few hours and then they're all doomed. Okay, but you should probably have a crew briefing on this to get the crew up to speed after you have a chance to fix your immediate emergency. And there is such a briefing that the crew has. But first, they have to have sex. All the characters on the ship, except for one, have to couple up and go have sex and hang out for a while. And then after they're done having sex, they can get onto their briefing to discuss their situation and how they're going to save themselves. It is really goddamn stupid, and it's a major problem with this film, and it's another reason why it deserves to be rotten. I mean, yes, if it needed to have sex scenes, it had like 4 different sex scenes. That's a lot for a movie like this that's only 90 minutes long, and it's a sci-fi film, and it's got a lot of other stuff going on. They probably still could have had 1 or 2 sex scenes, but they just chose to put the priority on that. I mean, the crew even had that as a priority, to go have sex rather than to save themselves. Wow, 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 completely rotten on that, but let's move on. Yeah, half a star, August 8th, 2016. The awful Sugar Ray trailer is just the tip of the iceberg for how bad this movie is. Joyless, scareless sci-fi horror with nothing to offer but lackluster special effects and porn-quality dialogue. You're not actually wrong on that review. In fact, let me read another little tidbit from my list. Yeah, we've got, this is back before the days of J.J. Abrams, and what I mean by that is nowadays we have J.J. Abrams. He's directed movies in almost every, I don't know, every franchise out there he wants to dip his toe into. He wants to direct for every big studio, and his main claim to, his big claim that, people like to make fun of him for his artistic style. J.J. Abrams' big artistic claim to fame, so to speak, is his lens flare effect. He likes to add lens flares to everything. He did it in Star Trek. He did it in his TV shows. He does it in everything to try to put these lens flare effects into there to create some kind of weird, magical, realistic effect. I mean, I don't know. You'll have to talk to him to find out what he's trying to do with this, but that's what he's known for. Now, this movie, it actually tries to do what he does. It puts a lot of lens flares inside the ship in different scenes, but in this case, they do it even worse than J.J. Abrams. It's like J.J. Abrams Jr. Like, he tried to do that style, but he made the lens flares very blurry and smudgy on top of putting them all over the place. And so it looks like just cinematographic incompetence. It looks like somebody just didn't know what the fuck they were doing rather than some artistic style. So I call it like J.J. Abrams Jr. effect of a lens flare. Like, it's a very smudgy, ugly lens flare, but let's move on. Uh, this is the year 2000 we're talking about, so who knows, maybe J.J. Abrams got his lens flare effect from this guy. I don't know. 1.5 stars, June 8, 2016. It's easy to imagine that buried somewhere deep within Supernova there was once a pretty compelling sci-fi. The reality, however, is far less engaging and significantly duller. James Spader and Angela Bassett are fine in the lead roles, but nowhere near impressive enough to save Supernova from mediocrity. It's actually a little worse than mediocrity. Let's check my list. Yes, the computer voice is very loud and the characters talking is very faint, so when you boost up your volume on your TV or your sound system to hear everything going on in the dialogue, as soon as the computer starts talking, it blows your eardrums out, and it's really annoying. We have, the bad guy, he's got superpowers, and James Spader, and actually James Spader doesn't end up getting superpowers, but one of the other crew members does for a little bit. And at the end, the bad guy with superpowers and James Spader, they fight each other, and it turns into kind of like a monster type battle. It almost looks like something ripped off from the movie Aliens, or even Alien, with blowing the monster out the airlock. It's kind of ripped off from that. Let's leave it at that. Only it's not real exciting. It's really boring. And it's a little lower than mediocre. That's all I have to say about that. Lower than mediocre. 3.5 big stars, hard to believe, September 7, 2015. A briskly paced, tightly bound storyline and its presentation. We're threatened by a ninth-dimensional creator of an infinitely creative universe expansion. Yeah, it's kind of gobbledygook stuff. The movie doesn't clearly define what the alien artifact is, but it gives you enough sci-fi jumbo to say that it has energy it has ninth dimensional energy inside of it, inside this bomb or this artifact, and so the aliens could be from the ninth dimension that left this artifact buried inside this remote planet that these miners discover. They dig it out. It's a bunch of gobbledygook, just technical mumbo jumbo, and but why that would make this a 3.5 star film, I don't know. This is still a 1-star film with technical mumbo jumbo about the ninth dimensional energy, and that ninth dimensional energy gives you superpowers, but it's also a bomb. I mean, the movie can't really tell you what this is. Half a star, May 27, 2015. Usually a movie this bad has some charm, but not here. Yeah, it could have had charm if it wasn't so busy with all the sex scenes and whatnot. The sex scenes were kind of disappointing because it gave you kind of a little bit of nudity, but not enough to be satisfying, and just enough to, like, tease you. It's like a tease. The sex scenes were like teases of what you would get in a modern PG-13 or R-rated movie. Not very satisfying. Below mediocre also. 2.5 stars, March 4th, 2015. When it comes to nightmare projects that went way beyond the original intent and ended up being a complete disaster, few recent projects have quite as big a story to tell behind the scenes as Supernova. What was originally meant to be a low-budget sci-fi horror film, changing hands between different writers, directors, editors, and producers, became something entirely different, and with a marketing campaign that missed the mark completely, all you have to do is see the original theatrical trailer. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to show you that this is some kind of Event Horizon type of film, but it's not. It's not at all. 3 stars, February 15, 2015. It had a good idea, but it fell short. Yeah, it had a good idea for something that would have been a story that would have worked in a sci-fi novel with like maybe 400 pages or more. Doesn't work on film, not with all this stuff in it. 2.5 stars, January 12, 2015. I remember seeing Supernova back in 2000 when it originally came out on DVD. Like most people, I thought it looked great at the time, but really didn't have much else going for it. My opinion hasn't really changed since revisiting it. The special effects and design are still the highlight of a sci-fi film that suffers from simply maintaining the status genre quo and offering nothing new. The medical ship Nightingale 229 travels back through deep space in the early 22nd century. Okay, they're going to go on. They're giving it 2.5 stars. Nah, it's not all that. I say 1 star max. In the year 2000, it came out, and everybody that I knew just kind of forgot about it, didn't really care about it one way or the other, and it's popping up now, and we're back in November 6, 2014 on this review, half a star. One of the few movies I actually considered asking for my money back on. To this day, I regret I hadn't. Yeah, if you saw this in the theater, you probably were wondering just what the hell you were supposed to see, what you had seen. I don't know, back in 2000 it would have been a lot cheaper to see this in the theater. Maybe it was like $7 or $8 or something, or even less. Still, you would have been wondering, what was the point? Why did I sit in that seat for, 90 minutes? 2 stars, October 2014. I've never seen a film whose priorities are so out of whack. You've got spaceships, alien treasure, and exotic planets, but the film only seems interested in bare butts, naked boobies, and not one, not two, but three sex scenes in zero gravity. Actually, I think there's four. I think I said that before. There's four sex scenes, technically, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's just three. It's three too many, even if it is three, because, like I said, they actually are more concerned about having sex than saving themselves at the beginning of this film. It's quite ridiculous to watch. 5 whole stars, September 2014. Awesome movie. Need a second installment so that the ending can be the basis for the second movie. I disagree. I'm not sure what movie you watched. 2 stars, September 2014. Flat, dull, boring. The only watchable actor is Peter Facinelli because he's the only one without a flat effect. Yeah, I'll say the bad guy. He's watchable. He works as the bad guy. He feels like the bad guy right away. But I don't know this actor. I don't recall seeing him in anything else, so I'm not sure his career was too great before or after this. But yeah, he was effective as a bad guy, but yeah, the rest of the film was still rotten, so there's that. August 2014, 2.5 stars, routine and disjointed. August again, 2014, 3.5 stars. This is the second time I watched this film, and both times I really liked it. Peter Facinelli did a really good job as the antagonist, and I liked the special effects, although they showed the influence of the original 2001: A Space Odyssey. Yeah, it's like a really bad and a cringe-worthy version of HAL 9000, and there is a sequence in which the computer and one of the only crew member in this that doesn't have somebody to have sex with. He's kind of a loner, and he makes friends or has some kind of platonic relationship with the ship's computer, and you think that's going to go somewhere, but then when there's a scene to take advantage of that, it doesn't, and it's just stupid and completely goofy, and it's a complete fail. So, yes, the ripoff of HAL from 2001 is just a complete fail, and it just makes the film more rotten. I'm sorry. 1.5 stars, July 2014. Nick notices a robot ambling about erratically. God, what happened to your robot? Dr. Kayla Evers, nothing. Nick, really? I hope nothing doesn't happen to me. This was disappointingly lame. Disappointing because it has Angela Bassett and James Spader in the lead roles, and they are/were pretty credible actors. The idea of the sci-fi thriller killer alien possession flick was interesting. It had potential, but this film lacked depth. That's an understatement. They're saying that Angela Bassett and James Spader were just fine. Well, they were. They did their jobs fine. They acted their roles just perfectly, really, but the rest of the script was completely rotten, complete shit. So, 1 star, June 2014. I never liked sci-fi, but I had fun watching James Spader without a shirt on. Yeah, it's quite jarring considering the James Spader we know from today, that even in a suit he looks pretty bad, physically out of shape. 1 star, March 2014. It's a bomb, an incredibly cheap-looking piece of sci-fi schlock that was disowned by its director and re-edited by the studio. Two things to be thankful for: it's unintentionally hilarious, and it's over in a merciful 90 minutes. Well, I'll agree there. It's over quick. It's only 90 minutes long. Just when you think you might want to shut it off, it comes to an end. But is it hilariously funny? Is it fun to, like, drink a beer and then kick back and laugh at it? No, I'm sorry. It's not. It's not one of those. It's so bad. It's good movies. It's not. I would say it if it was. There's no humor to be found. Even if you're 6 beers into a six pack, you're not going to find anything to laugh about. Like I said, just watch this if you've got nothing better to do, and just contrast James Spader with the James Spader of 2019. That's pretty crazy to watch. But the rest of it, no, it's completely forgettable. Too boring. Not funny. It has goofiness and plot holes up the wazoo. It's just an example of rottenness, and I think those scores, the 10% on the critic score, the tomato meter, that's fair. I understand completely. The 17% audience score, it could be up to like 30%, and it would still be fair by my judgment. 17%, it's not quite that bad. 30%, but no higher. Definitely no higher. And I will see you on the next episode of Rotten Reviews.